Hello and welcome to episode 94 of Toward a Better Life. This is Kevin Pinnell. Toward a Better Life podcast features like-minded people sharing their stories, ideas, and activities on what can be done to generate a better life individually and collectively. I invite you to share your thoughts through music, storytelling, poetry, or prose. Send them to me, Kevin at towardabetterlife.com. That's Kevin at towardabetterlife.com. If it's an audio file, please be sure to send it to me in an MP3 file. Just makes life a little easier for me. If you enjoy the episode, if you learned something today, please consider following the show, subscribing through your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, to name a few, and please be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcast. That's a free way to support the show, and it just, it's a chance to tell us what you love about the program, and it helps others discover it too. This week, we have some prose to share from Emily O'Neill. Also, music from Dave the Bard. You remember Dave from some episodes back. And also, as we close in on Thanksgiving, we're going to talk about family and specifically parenting with Danielle Lindner. Let's start the program with a little prayerful thought about autumn from Emily O'Neill.
I feel like prayers around the wheel of the year are really helpful to honor nature's cycles. And I feel like offering a prayer to those shifts in season is offering that to both nature and to ourselves. Because when the seasons shift, so do we. And so I offer this prayer. It's called a prayer for the autumn equinox. As the leaves fall gracefully surrendering to the earth, let us find the courage to let go. Just as bare branches reveal a tree's strength and resilience, the bones of inner fortitude are made known as burdens, like leaves fall away, carried off by the breeze of time. May we trust in the natural rhythm of life, for in the quiet stillness of the season, peace and clarity await. May we nourish our souls with gratitude and reflection, emerging from this period of transformation renewed and strengthened. And so it is.
Thank you, Emily. There's information in the show notes about Emily, and she's going to be my guest on next week's show, by the way. Moving on to this week's chat, I'm talking with Danielle Lindner. Danielle is an author, educator, and parenting coach who's been featured on podcasts and Prime with her live programs, ABC, and other media. She's also the founder of the London Day School. She helps parents and educators alike with navigating parenting needs through today's unpredictable world. One of her many books is the brilliant, award-winning A Parent's Pocket Guide to Surviving the Preschool Years. That says a lot in and of itself. Your hands-on ally in this exhilarating journey of parenting. Let's listen. And in this episode of Toward a Better Life, I'd like to welcome Danielle Lindner to our program. Danielle, good day and glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about Danielle. Looks like you do a lot of work with childcare and, parenting and parenting coaching, I believe. So this sounds like an interesting program to, promote better living for everybody from the family standpoint.
Yeah. So 15 years ago, I started a preschool called the London Day School in Florham Park, New Jersey. I really wanted to have a different type of school for kids. I didn't want it to be a daycare. There were kids that were there all day, and I kind of wanted the daycare to kind of end at that, and be more of a school enriching and engaging environment for young minds. So we have a very strong STEM program, introducing kids to biology and chemistry and food science, and using the actual words like polymers, making slime, so that when they get to the higher grades, it's not something that they're just like, oh gosh, I got to get through this. They remember chemistry as like, oh, we made chocolate pudding. That was chemistry. I'm excited for the sciences. And especially to bringing the sciences and excitement to girls, because we really still don't have a lot of women in sciences. So I feel like if we could bring it to kids at a really young age when their minds are really open and sponges, that's like one of our missions. And the other big focus is character education. Because I think we're seeing now, especially in our world, that people are not, there are very nice people and really good helpers. And, you know, we had this disaster now in North Carolina and many other states. And you look at the helpers, there are so many helpers and so many good people. But then when you kind of take a world view of what's happening in our world now, even kids are noticing that there are a lot of bad people. So I want to try and bring character education in to kids from 18 months to year 5 when they're with us, so that we can instill in them what it means to be a caring, sharing, empathetic person, a person who can sympathize, a person who can empathize, and also someone who feels good about themselves. Because I think when people feel good about themselves, they are less likely to become that schoolyard bully, and hopefully less likely to become, you know, a world leader that wants to dominate the universe. Let's hope.
Yeah.
You know, they all started as babies, you know,
Yes, they
somewhere.
do.
And so that's kind of what we aim for. And then, you know, through the work I did with kids and parents over so many years, hundreds and hundreds of parents, I moved into parent coaching virtually so that I could help coach parents of kids from really age 2 to 8 on all the issues that they're dealing with as their kids go through preschool and go into kindergarten and first and second grade. And parents usually have many of the same issues, which is why I wrote the book I wrote called The Parent's Pocket Guide to Surviving the Preschool Years. And it comes with a lot of, you know, hopefully humor and stories and strategies to get through a lot of the basics like biting and tantrums and separation anxiety. But every child is different, and what works for one child doesn't necessarily work for the next. So by doing one-on-one parent coaching, which by the way is like a few sessions or once a month, it's not like when you're meeting with a therapist and it's like years and years of things to unpack. I can pretty much get parents relatively quickly armed with a toolbox to survive and get through it peacefully and happily. So that's really like, that really brings joy to me. And I love kind of uplifting other people by helping them with these strategies so that they can enjoy being a parent, because sometimes it's really unjoyful.
No, not at all. Never. I said never. It is fun, and it's even humorous when you look back at it. In my case, probably 30 some years ago,
Yep.
when my son was just a little guy. But you know, it's interesting when you see some of the qualities, and some of those can be positive, certainly, hopefully, but some can also be negative that we've passed on to people that, you know, as you grow up and so forth. But you know, I remember, I don't know why, but Calvin and Hobbes just came to mind.
All
And
right.
there was a thing in Calvin and Hobbes about something to the effect of, you know, we were never really given a how-to manual when you become a parent. So just the mere fact that you're out there to help nurture some of these young people is really commendable. And you have them during the formative years from, you know, 18 months to 5 years old. So that's a handful. But what I see from what you're sharing is that you aren't, and you've already said it, you're not just a daycare to make sure that diapers are changed, they're fed, they're napped, and okay, go away, we're done. You know, keep them in home
Right.
for 8 hours. But you're actually doing something during that 8 hour time period. And you've also used the term that I've used so many times myself, as well as others, that in these formative years, these kids are like little sponges. Anything you share with them, it's ingrained into them. And it dates me a little bit because I remember as a kid, boy, this really goes back, guys. But I remember all the way back. Are you ready for this, Danielle? All the way back to Nikita Khrushchev. He was the premier of of Russia at the time,
Yep.
communist Russia. And he says, you give me your child from birth until 6 years old, and I will make him a communist. And
I
that's
don't
true.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's scary, but what
Very.
children can take in, and it's not just the verbal stuff, it's the watching stuff. When you are training up a child, they see and they respond. I Maybe you can help us with this, but I'm going to leap right out there and say that what they see is learned more so than what they hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always say it's trickle down education for kids.
Mm-hmm.
If they see parents fighting and
Yep.
being disrespectful to each other, they think that's what they should be doing because they want to please their
Mm-hmm.
parents. They want to emulate their parents. So, like you said, whatever they're seeing, the actions they're seeing, they're going to emulate that and
Yeah.
copy that.
Yeah, because it
So,
to them it's the normal lifestyle. That's what they
right,
figure. Well, mom and dad argue, so I guess that's what I'm supposed to do when I grow up. They don't
right.
take an exam to that, but it's just into their subconscious that that's what happens. And another piece of life. I'm familiar a little bit about different forms of abuse, and abuse isn't just physical abuse; it can also be mental and emotional. But all those different pieces, and you end up with a child that is ends up being a problem within society, and even to the
Yeah.
point of being a criminal or whatever, just because they weren't trained properly. So I had get off of that stuff for a second. One of the things that I thought was really cute, and I'm a very visual person, and you mentioned about having the preschool kids and teaching them with slime, and all I had visions of is this little kid that's like, like a 2-year-old, and they get their hands into the green slime, and they're just having a blast.
Yes, they love it. They love it. I don't know if the teachers love it so much, but I know the parents love it because they're not doing it at their house.
Yeah, yeah. But you teach them science that way. That's like the little trick about what is it? I think it's water and cornstarch.
Yes.
And it's just like, wow. And then you can put color in it and just they could have a blast. Oh, look, it's solid. No, it's not. It's liquid. How do you do that? But yeah. And you teach them through this, the sciences. And yeah, I mean, you have an opportunity to create new sciences, new
It
scientists.
was it was very funny because years ago we would always put pumpkins out for Halloween. And year we do organic gardening because that's part of science. You want to teach them how to plant and watch things grow, and then they can try things like if they ever grow. And so yeah, this year we were putting it was very dry in the summer and they planted lettuce. And with like 2 weeks goes by and there's nothing. But the next day, the teacher went out and bought like lettuce plants that had already been like growing for like 3 months
Ah.
and she planted them. She's like, what? But one year we planted pumpkins because we decided like let's plant our own pumpkins. And the stalk like and the vines took over like the whole walkway. I mean, there were so many flowers, and I'm anticipating we're gonna have probably a pumpkin for every student. We got one pumpkin, one pumpkin. That's all we got. And but it was a cute, nice pumpkin, and we're gonna have this day where we all come out and we look at the pumpkin and we talk about the pumpkin. And that night I leave, and the next day I come in, and a squirrel ate the pumpkin. Literally seeds. It was like a murder scene. It was terrible. And I went inside and I said to my assistant director, Deanna, at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I can't believe it. We had one pumpkin. The squirrel ate our pumpkin. Now we have nothing. It's a disaster. And she's like, no, it's not. It's science. It's like, we are going to get a science lesson out of this no matter what.
Yeah, yeah.
And we did.
Uh-huh.
We talked about, growing and animals and food and seeds because we had a lot of seeds around. And we just try to make it fun,
Yeah.
fun for the kids, whatever it is. And then they just have a more positive attitude towards things that most of the time, at least I did, had a pretty negative attitude when I had to go to biology or chemistry.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was in 10th grade when I did, and I'm saying, there's biology, but I was more interested in the hormones that were running through my body at the time.
Yeah, it
What's
was like, oh, we're gonna have to like do some. And it was funny because one day in biology, the teacher came in and said they're filming a commercial for New Jersey science teachers, and they're gonna pick a couple students to do an experiment and show everybody what it looks like it was high school,
Hmm.
in our science lab. And I was literally the worst in science, the worst. I didn't want to do the worm thing. I think I paid my friend in tater tots to do it for me because I was so grossed out. And then this film crew comes in and they're like, all right, we're going to pick a couple people. We want you in goggles and a beaker and with flames. And they pick me.
Thank
And
you.
I thought, this is definitely Hollywood because I am definitely acting.
I am not that person at all.
I play a scientist on TV, but that's about it.
One of the things that I remember way back, we're about to go into our fourth season here of the program, and I remember early on I spoke with a couple of friends of mine who live up in Maine, and they have their two boys, and their two boys are just sharing some really cool stuff in the way that they have their home, and they raise goats, and they have
Oh,
their own vegetable
wow.
garden, and they do. So they have these kids that are the two boys, and they're younger, and they're teaching them how to gather wood for the fireplace. They're teaching them
That's
how to
great.
take care of the goats, how to take care of the chickens. It's hands-on stuff. And what you've got now is you have kids that are actually, I would say, emotionally, they're much more mature. Do you find that with the ones that you are going through your program, that they're more mature and they're more aware?
They're much more mature, because the other thing that we really focus on a lot is executive functioning skills.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see now is so many kids need tutoring, not in math, not in science, not in English, in executive functioning.
Hmm.
Because kids have not learned how to be independent, how to organize themselves, how to prioritize work assignments. My daughter actually is an executive functioning tutor, and she has to turn people away. She's so busy, with kids that they're really intelligent, they're really smart, they get good grades, but they struggle because they never learned how to, put things in order and prioritize things and, figure out what they should do first. And when you have a lot of assignments, how do you get through it without having a meltdown? How do you do everything? And I think now it's even worse because a lot of us expect our kids to be the best in the sport, be the best in dance, be the best in school, get into the top college. And there's so much pressure put on kids that they can't even sit down and think about what to do first or how to get things done effectively because they're overwhelmed. They're just overwhelmed. So that's one of the things that we take a scaffolding approach to learning at our school. And sometimes parents will say, well, they've never been in a school environment and they are 3, so we want to just put them in the threes class. And we say, realistically, if they've never been exposed to any type of school or learning, they really need to start in the 2.5s, even for half a year, because so much happens during that time that is the foundation for the things that happen at 3, 4, 5, 6, and beyond. That, if you don't build a strong foundation, your house is going to fall down at some point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's a really big thing. And by, like you saying, teaching these kids to be responsible, to know how to do these tasks, to be independent, to have chores and responsibilities, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that we try to incorporate into our program all the time.
So something you said a little bit ago about challenging for the parents to bring their 3-year-old in, and they want to put them in with a 3-year-old. How do you counsel them? And how do you approach that? Because, here I am, I'm a young parent, I've got a 2-year-old child. No, I've got a 3.5-year-old child, and you're telling me, well, because of their emotional makeup or their, whether or mental makeup and the executive skills makeup, you're going to put my child in with younger kids? Is my kid, what's wrong with my kid? And how do you work through that? Because there's got to be a certain amount of pride in there, because my
Right.
child's going to be great, but now you're telling me they're not.
Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. It really depends on the perspective of the parent. And we also evaluate the child. There are cases where the child hasn't been exposed at all to preschool, but their grandparents have worked with them, the parents have worked with them. They're participating or watching really good educational TV, which I don't recommend as the way you
Hmm.
educate your child, but especially through COVID, it happened. Also, it's how they're treated at home. So if the child has been included in adult conversations,
Right.
they've been included. Like my parents used to have a book and movie club, and I was like 7, and I was always still invited to join and share if I wanted to. And I was much more, I think, mature and comfortable around adults than some of my peers because I had that opportunity. So if a child comes in like that, then we'll say, yeah, they probably are ready to be in the 3s. Let's try it and see how it goes. But if they have had no exposure at all, then we try to explain to the parent, like, even if it's a couple months, like, let's just get them used to school, to a routine, to being around other kids. Hopefully they'll be the leader. They'll be the big fish in the small pond, which is better than being the small fish in a huge pond.
Hmm.
They'll build their confidence. They'll
Hmm.
be a leader. They'll be a mentor, we hope. And once that happens, then we move them right into the next class.
Hmm.
And most parents that really want their kids to succeed, most parents that can look ahead to, say, high school, know that this is the best thing for them. The same thing for kids that are a little younger. They go through preschool and they're really just not ready yet for kindergarten.
Hmm.
And we'll recommend, do another year. And
Yeah.
some parents, not my kid, but most parents now, I think, have really gotten used to the idea of redshirting, is what they call it. They understand it. They have seen a lot of examples of success. And so now parents are asking us, can I put them in again, like another year? Because I really feel they need it. And so more and more now it's kind of switching, the dynamic switching, where parents are asking us first
Hmm.
if they should do this, which I think is really great. I mean, I have a 25-year-old now who is a doctoral student. There were 1,400 applicants. There were 1,400 acceptances in the whole United States into her program.
Wow.
And I kept her back a year in preschool. And I got to tell you, it really made a difference.
Forgive me for backing up here really quick,
Sure.
just so we're really clear on it. You call it red shirting? Is
Yeah,
that
it's
what they?
called red shirting. I don't know why it's called that. I don't know why they call it that, but
Anyway,
um,
so
it
back to
was
your
here.
doctoral student that that
Yeah,
you that you kept back.
I kept her back a year in preschool, which, you're the cool kid when it happens in preschool, but it's not so cool if you have to do it in 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th grade.
Right.
So do it in preschool, and your kids are going to be the leader, the mentor. They're going to be a little bit older. They're going to be more emotionally ready. They're going to be more academically prepared. And she was the first one to drive in high school. So boy, did that make her cool.
You
It's
know, I
almost like I say to parents, if you buy a bookshelf from Amazon or wherever, and they leave out the instructions and they just say, go put it together. It's like, what? How do I do this? And it's the same thing as if you don't give kids the foundation on basic skills that they need. and just say, now be in the 4-year-old class, start reading sight words. But they haven't even learned their letters. They don't even know the alphabet. Like, it's torture for them. It's so hard for them. And why make it hard for them?
Good.
Why? You
Yeah.
know?
Are you able to pick up on, it just came to me, are you able to pick up on different things like dyslexia or anything like that at a very young age when you're doing this kind of work?
Yeah, I mean, I can pick out a child with high functioning autism, Asperger's, dyslexia, dyscalculia, but I have a master's in early childhood education. I'm not certified to make those judgments, or, I cannot tell a parent you have an autistic child. But what I can do is, and what I do is, I suggest they have their child evaluated by a professional in that field. And I always suggest they do it before the child is 3 years old, if possible,
Mm.
because if there is an issue, in most states they will get free assistance. And most of these issues, like my younger daughter had auditory processing disorder and ADHD. And I addressed it right away, and we got her the help she needed, and she learned the strategies. She also had dyscalculia, which is switching numbers.
Mm.
She learned the strategies, she learned skills, and now she's a college sophomore. She's on the dean's list. She's an excellent student. She started the campus fashion magazine. She's doing great. But had I ignored it, had I said, like some parents do, not my child, I'm
Mm.
not getting, there's nothing wrong with them. There
Right.
isn't anything wrong with them. You're right. But they
Yep.
might have a learning challenge or a learning difference. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. And we need to find out so we can help them and give them the skills in a toolbox.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of really good information about the program that you have. One of the things I'm curious about is, do you offer any kind of workshops for other centers? I'm talking about for childcare and things like that to help pattern and help set up a program similar to yours?
Yes. So schools can hire me to go in and review their entire program, to do
Mm.
teaching, to look at their classrooms and help them with a more effective setup for learning, because that really makes a difference. For doing teacher education and training. So yeah, I do all of that.
Nice. And the way that they would do that is through your website, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they can go in there, and I have a place where you can request a free consultation for parent coaching.
Hmm.
But in the information area, if they say, I'm a school, I want teacher coaching, I want a review of my program, then I will reach out to them and talk to them about that.
Because this is powerful stuff. I could see, with the title, of course, of the program, Toward a Better Life, we can think about it as creating a better life for young people as well, and creating a better life overall. Because guess what, guys and gals, we're going to be in that group, and the ones we're teaching now are going to be taking care of us. Hello. You know, we should think about stuff like this, think ahead instead of being myopic with everything going on around us. Let's open our vision and open our eyes and say, it goes back to those old traditional thoughts, is the village trains up the child, you know?
That's right. Yes. And one of the things, going back to what you talked about for training, I'm really excited that in the next couple of months, I've been asked to be an educator in residence at High Point University in North Carolina. They
Hmm.
have a group of innovators. Steve Wozniak is one of
Oh,
them. They have Cint Marshall she's the CEO of Dallas Mavericks, and they've asked me to be educator entrepreneur in residence. So through that, I'm going to be going to campus and talking to students that want to become teachers, and meeting with them and talking to them about, what kind of teacher do you want to be? How do you see your career? What does it mean to be a public school teacher? What does it mean to go into
mm,
private school teaching? And I think, like, by starting with the educators, in college, that's a great way to also make sure that the students coming out of these programs are going to be great hires for these wonderful preschools and elementary schools that they're going to go to. So
Hmm.
I'm really excited about that.
That's incredible. That's awesome stuff that you're talking about. And it was just, like I said, it's just a passing thought. So let's talk a little bit about your book. You've got
Sure.
several books out there. And let's start off with the one you mentioned about the Parent's Pocket Guide. It sounds like a great little publication. And how do people get copies of that?
So they can get it right on Amazon. It's called The Parent's Pocket Guide to Surviving the Preschool Years. And they can also see I have the rest of my books are all kids' books focused on various aspects of character education.
Hmm.
And they can find those books on Amazon as well. And you can also go to my website and find everything there about the coaching, the teaching, the books. And that would be DanielleLindner.com. It's DanielleLindner.com. There's two N's. Everyone forgets one of them.
Okay. So I've pulled up one that really catches my eye because going back to my acquaintances up in Maine, they're Lou and Caroline Falnick, who have their two boys, and they're excelling, by the way. The boys, I've known them for a while, but at any rate, uh, I think I could be mistaken, but I think they're even maybe doing some stuff with bees, and I saw Betsy Bee.
Oh, yep.
And it kind of circles around completely because what I can read here, it says the little bee who learned how to share and care in preschool. And am I right in assuming that's really teaching about community?
Yes, it starts out really talking about how, Betsy, being a bee, has hundreds of brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's always kind of fighting to be seen. And so sharing's not really she wants to be the princess. She wants to be the queen bee.
Uh-huh.
That's her mom, but she wants to be the best and she doesn't want to share. And then she gets to preschool and she thinks like she has to really keep all the toys to herself because if she doesn't, she's not going to get anything.
Mm.
Um, and what she ultimately finds is she has all the toys, but nobody to play with.
Ah,
So
yeah.
she learns a great lesson. And I think a lot of kids are that way, especially if they are an only child and they haven't been to school before and everything is theirs. And I also tell kids, if you have something very, very special to you, you don't need to share everything.
Mm.
You don't need to share everything. If you have a special dolly that's your dolly, you don't have to give it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But you respectfully say, I really just don't want anyone to touch my dolly. It's very special to me, but I would love to play with you on this puzzle or something else.
Okay.
Because I think it's also important to teach kids that they can have boundaries and it's
Oh,
okay to say no.
wow. That's wow. I know some adults that might benefit from reading about reading some of these.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny because I have a book called Kobe, the blue kangaroo that worries all day. And I was at a book festival and a mom came up to me and she said, I bought this for my child, but I read it all the time because I have general anxiety and this book helps me.
Perfect. See, there you go.
I was like, great.
One of the things I see here is I'm just picking them out. These are great. What have you got? Let's
Thank
see here.
you.
We got like 8, 9, 10. Good grief. And you've got some in Spanish, which is really cool.
Yeah, the
Uh,
one about being afraid of going to the doctor, I had that translated into Spanish as well,
hmm
because I thought it was really important to make sure that we have it available to everyone.
And then with I'm going to say all of the different worlds that are coming together nowadays, and people are traveling the world, and we have student exchanges, and we have parents that go from China to the United States to take care of whatever it is they're doing some work. In the meantime, they have a preschooler, and her name happens to be, and I'm going to say it, Paige, who moved from China
Yeah.
and speaks Mandarin. She's shy and scared until her friends help her feel at home. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have, by the nature of the name of our school, the London Day School, And I named it the London Day School purposely so that people would get an idea that it's a little bit different, that it's not a daycare, that it's internationally focused, and that we welcome everyone in a diverse group of students. And we've been very fortunate to get a lot of expats and, students from all over the globe. And I just thought, a lot of them come here and English isn't their first language, and they're very nervous and very shy. And I wanted to sort of address that, and from two sides, one from the child side, so they could feel that there are other kids like them, and also for the kids that are here to say, these children feel this way, be a friend, take their hand on the playground, help them, show kindness, include them. And by the end of the story, Paige won't stop talking. They're like, okay, Paige, what's up, Paige?
But there are all kinds of subjects in these books, everyone, that I'm looking at. I mean, we have stuff here about, how you have somebody who's adopted, and you have new babies that are coming into the world, into the family, and how to work with them. And oh my gosh, wow,
So that's a big one.
yeah, yeah, I would bet. Are any of these audio books, or are they all just are they regular paperback books, or
They're
hardcover?
paperback. However, 7 of them, I have a show on Amazon Prime called Miss Danielle's Preschool Buds. And there are 7 episodes that you can get right on Amazon Prime, where I'm reading the 7 of the books, and there's curriculum I do with them. And I try to have sort of like a Mr. Rogers approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's my hero, so it could never be him. But so you can go on and watch those, and I think they're really fun. I'm in a classroom setting, and there's some songs, and I can't promise that my voice is great, but but 2 to 5-year-olds don't really care.
They
And
don't.
there's pictures and the book and the story and curriculum, so those are fully immersive live action experience.
Uh-huh. And that's Miss Danielle's Preschool Buds on Amazon
Yes,
Prime. Okay.
yes.
All right. That's that's another one. My goodness. You're busy, aren't you?
I am busy.
Busy like a bee.
That's right.
But you're not Betsy, so that's a good thing.
No.
Well, that's okay. Betsy changed, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yes, that's good. So, as far as the other piece that I'm going to wander back to, because I see it so much, yes, it's something we try to make people aware, but I want to dwell on it. But that is the tragedy that we've run into here with the destruction and everything involving the hurricane that hit North Carolina. And one of the
Yes.
interesting things that I've been able to see, and my heart goes out to so many people here, is that you see a real sense of community. And I wrote the other day in a commentary in another media that I said you're still going to have your knotheads out there, and that's just a nice way of putting it. And I don't care where you are, you're going to have a knothead. But the percentage of knotheads that I've been able to see are very few compared to what they could be. But when
Right.
you have children that are being brought up, and they're being brought up in the sense of what you're talking about with values and how to care for other people and have real compassion toward other people and real empathy toward other people. How do you teach, by the way, uh, teaching empathy and compassion to children? That must be a challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, it's it's a lot of modeling,
Hmm.
um, playing out scenarios, using puppets, using stuffed animals. Um, and then, our pre-K kids, we talk to them about issues in a way that they can understand it. And they are in charge of coming up with social action initiatives throughout the
Hmm.
year. And they come up with a song, and they come up with posters, and they go around to the other classrooms and tell them what they're trying to do. And we try to teach them that it doesn't matter how old you are, how little you are, you can help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So we, you know, and they'll choose it. Sometimes it's pennies for puppies
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, they'll gloves for and coats for kids that don't have any. One year they filled backpacks for foster children. So they're always doing something that gives them a little bit of a perspective that not everyone is as fortunate as we are, and how can we help them? And that's kind of how we do it.
And that goes back to the community aspect, community support,
Yeah.
and how, again, with the hustle bustle world that we live in, we lose touch with reality, I think sometimes,
Mhm.
and we lose touch with tactile activities, tactile in the sense of actually being able to touch somebody's life because they're
Right.
having a difficult time, and how it's not just you, but it's your whole community that comes in behind and supports everyone in that situation, whether it's,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yep.
whether it's taking food to the elderly or caring for somebody that's simple as can be, the old routine of helping her across the street. Well, you're not going to have a 3-year-old necessarily doing that,
Right.
but you can start in showing about how to care for people.
The other thing that we were doing with our older kids before COVID, and it's been hard to reintroduce it because of COVID still being around, but one of the programs I'm most proud of is we worked with a senior center
Hmm.
who had a memory care
Oh,
club, and they would bus their memory care seniors to our school, and they would come and do a story and songs and a craft with our kids. And
wow.
that really teaches empathy, you know,
Yeah.
because some were in wheelchairs, some had walkers, some couldn't remember. A lot of them couldn't remember things. But the amazing thing from that program was that when I would go visit myself, go to their meetings, they would say, "You are from the school with the kids." They
Hmm.
would remember that. And that was like just the greatest thing ever. I'm hoping eventually, you know, we'll be able to bring that back because it was so rewarding for our kids and for them. Everybody got something out of that program. It was great.
Well, when you look at just the simple act of storytelling, we have so many different forms of media out there. You can pick up an audio book, you can watch a video, but maybe this is just me, Danielle, but there's nothing quite like having an elder sit there one on
Hmm.
one or one on 10, how many ever
Yep.
kids there are, and just sit down and tell them a story.
Yeah.
Or maybe even have them read out of a book. It's that really close proximity and connection that they can have with a person as opposed to a TV or a
Yes.
radio.
There's such a warmth, and you know, we would often play music
Mm,
from, you know, that we knew that they would enjoy, and that hits something in the brain somehow that triggers memories. And then while the music's playing, we would say, "Oh, you know, what what's your favorite music? What did you like to do when you were a kid?" And things would come out, you know, "Oh, I love to go dancing," and we'd have dance halls, and every we would dress up on Fridays and we'd go hear the big band, and it was just wonderful. It was so
mm.
rewarding, so amazing. And the fact that they would then remember that months and months later was just, I mean, it makes you cry, but it's amazing.
So we have a lot here that we've digested in some time that we've spent together, and it's a lot of really good information, a lot of really good ideas on support and things that we can do, and maybe even connect with you if you're listening to this and trying to figure out a way that you can jumpstart your program at your own school. Reach out to
Yeah,
Danielle
absolutely.
and help with stuff like this, because it's ultimately we are helping our future by helping the children around us, and it starts at a very young age. So yeah.
Right. And if
uh
you have little ones at home,
mhm.
you know, find a something that you can do together to support whatever's going on in the world, like right now,
Mm-hmm.
sit with your child. If they're not doing something in their school, do something together. There's so many groups trying to help, and bring it to your child.
They had one of the video one of the video news items that they had here recently that I saw after we got our power back had a child, and I don't think the little girl had to be more than 8 years old, out there helping, handing out food.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Wow. Just wow.
It's life changing
Yeah.
for her.
She'll remember that for the rest of her life. She will.
Yeah.
And it taught her compassion at a very young age. So everything that's looking at with the children and so forth, and you have a couple of it's your two daughters that are off in college?
Yes, they are both now in college. Good and
So
bad.
so what does Danielle do to create a better life for herself these days?
I love traveling.
Mm,
I kind of tricked my husband. We went to a national park. We went to Bryce Canyon, and they said, well, if you pay $80, you can use this card for a year to see as many national parks as you want.
yep.
So I said to my husband, get the card. So he got the card, and I said, well, I just booked a trip to Joshua Tree, and where else did we go? And I don't know. Oh, Grand Tetons in Yellowstone. He's like, what? I go, well, it's $80. You got to use your $80. He's like, how much am I spending to use my $80? I said, do you want to leave that $80 on the table or not?
Good. Good.
I'm like, you're giving the government $80 and you're not going to take advantage of it.
So you like to travel to create a better life for yourself?
Yeah, so I love to travel. So within a year, we were at Joshua Tree, we were at Bryce, we were at the one with the little weird things. I forget what that's called.
Okay.
It's I can't remember. Oh, Zion. We were at Zion, we were at Yellowstone, and we were at Grand Tetons.
Okay. All right.
And now, unfortunately, my card has expired.
Well, the underscore to all of that is that if I mention it, and some people may say that, travel, that's really great for Toward a Better Life, but what do you do for Toward a Better Life? And the thing that I'm able to pick out of that is doing things together. Because so often we hear stories about people, the empty nesters, that, okay, great, now what do we do? And you're spending time together, and you're having fun together to create a better life. That's awesome.
And we're both entrepreneurs, so we both work any 80 hours a week we want.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
So even when we're in the Grand Tetons, we're probably sending an email or doing something. So you have to try and make some time.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And anything upcoming and anything on the immediate horizon for you and your work?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Every day brings something more exciting. So we shall see. Keep your eyes out on my website.
Okay. And that is the other piece. If someone wants to reach out, the easiest thing to do is DanielleLindner.com, and it's DanielleLindner.com. See, I got the second.
That's right. You got it.
Danielle, this has been delightful. Thanks ever so much for joining us today on Toward a Better Life. I hope you have a youth-filled day. How's that?
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Driving home at night in the company of a storm. Endless tail lights, I'm sitting here alone. Another day gone by, where do they all go? It's getting harder to justify a life on death row. my soul talk to the wisest people I know, I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves and all my troubles start to ease. Forgive me, please. You will find me under the trees. When we are born, we are told you're part of a great machine, no chance of parole. But life is a miracle, this I know so well. It's time to turn the key of my prison cell. I wanna go where I can heal my soul, talk to the wisest people I know, I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves and all my troubles start to ease. Forgive me, please. You will find me under the trees. And I know that it's true, it's so much harder to do than to say. All that I can say to you is come and meet me there too. You know the way. I wanna go where I can heal my soul, talk to the wisest people I know, I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves and all my troubles start to ease. Forgive me, please. I wanna go where I can heal my soul, talk to the wisest people I know, I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves and all my troubles start to ease. If you agree, come and join me under the trees.
Well, by permission, that was Dave the Bard with Under the Trees. There's information in the show notes to connect with Dave the Bard, Danielle Lindner, and Emily O'Neill. And just take a look there. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining me on this episode of Toward a Better Life. If you enjoyed it or you learned something today, please follow and subscribe to Toward a Better Life through your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or whichever you choose. And be sure to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. This helps the podcast more than I can say, and it allows us to reach more and more people, which would mean the world to me. As always, if you're seeking advice and insights on how to create a better life for yourself, please visit my website, towardabetterlife.com. It's continuing to grow with new blog entries, ways to enhance your spiritual journey, and few products to assist you on that journey as well, including an opportunity to buy my book, Two Feathers Spiritual Seed Planter. I also offer Toward a Better Life virtual and in-person sessions. Send your inquiry to me, Kevin, at towardabetterlife.com for the details. Join me next week on Toward a Better Life as I welcome evidential psychic medium, intuitive healer, and mentor, Emily O'Neill, to the show, and maybe a few more extras along the way. Speaking of extras, remember to send in your music storytelling prose and poetry, and if it's audio, make sure it's an MP3 file. If you have any questions or if you'd like to be my guest, please write me, kevin@towardabetterlife.com. That's kevin@towardabetterlife.com. Until next week, enjoy your journey toward a better life.